Nation.
SMD Law is the official law firm of the Spartan Nation. Check them out on the interwebs at smdalaw.com or at 866-529-3537. No matter where you are in the state of Michigan, Upper Peninsula, Lower Peninsula, it doesn't matter. They have an office near you. So whether you need to send a letter to an annoying neighbor, or you're a criminal and you need defense, maybe you just have problems with elder law, check them out, smdalaw.com today. The official law firm of the Spartan Nation. Call them first. Then you act.
Welcome back, Spartan Nation. We bring in the one, the only, the iconic one, Spartan Nation senior writer, the great Johnny Shop, for our weekly State of Michigan State Sports. We're going to talk almost all basketball this time, but we love to have him in. Johnny, how are you, bud?
I'm good, Hondo. Spring is here. We're on the way towards warmer weather. Busy time, of course, for the off-season work for both football and basketball. But make no mistake, the best of the winter is behind you, even though it's trying to hold on up there, which is crazy. Adios. Here comes the spring. Here we go.
Now, John, we're talking Michigan State, but you live in the ATL. You are a huge golf nut. You've been to Augusta. I've got to give you a chance to talk. How excited were you a couple weeks ago? Tiger won the Masters.
Well, it was really a huge surprise, but it was totally earned. And the reason that it was earned is Tiger Woods managed the game. He managed the course at Augusta better than any of the other players, and that's why he won. So it's really hard to believe that he was able to win the Masters based on where he was a couple of years ago physically. And it's really just something that you couldn't imagine happening, but I guess that's why they call him Tiger Woods.
John, you've been to Augusta. I was invited to play. I just said no because I hate golf. And then I realized later from people like you and others that I actually turned down a pretty prestigious invitation. I didn't realize it at the time. But I'm curious, Tiger winning the Masters, how big of this is in the pantheon of golf?
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. It's probably the biggest Masters victory we've seen since Nicklaus in '86. So you're talking about 30 years or so there. And historically, as far as the physical comeback, you're looking at probably a half century. So it's really something that it's hard to imagine happening because he is not the best player in the world and was not the best player that week, but he managed the course better than anybody else. So what you had was 3 or 4 other guys basically throw away opportunities, and he just kind of kept on rolling, and at the very end, he had one extra shot in the bank, and that's all he needed to win. So this was something wild, and what it will do is probably bring more people, at least in the sports world, they'll be paying attention to what Tiger Woods does again, because to the sports world, hey, he won the Masters. There's no reason he can't win the other big tournaments that are out there. So it'll keep more interest as they go along here, at least for a couple more years.
All right, John, let's get to Spartan basketball now. We've been saying since before the tournament was over with you and on this show that we expected Cassius Winston to be back, Nick Ward to go. That's what happened. Let's start with Nick. He worked hard in the classroom. He was never academically ineligible. He never had any off-court issues. Every NBA scout I talked to does not think that he is an NBA guy. They either said none of them thought he was a first-round pick. He's betting on himself. But this kid did everything that was asked. No hard feelings. We wish him well.
Yeah, I think so. And I think he seems like he's got the understanding that there's a difference between being an NBA draft pick and an NBA player. It looks from afar like he's got a long-range goal and a long-range mentality that he can do what he needs to do to develop into an NBA player. That may take a couple of different routes. That may take a route to play out of the country for a little while as well. So I wouldn't expect him to be drafted either, not because of any fault of his own, just because that NBA game is so different. It's so dependent on individual skills. It's so remarkably athletic. There's not a lot of role players left in the NBA, and his size and his shape doesn't really lend itself to any specific role either. So as long as he's okay with not being drafted or maybe not making an NBA team in the first year or two, I don't think he's going to have a problem. This doesn't strike me as difficult to take as some of the folks who have left early from Michigan State. The most recently being Denota Davis. I still don't know what was going on there, and unfortunately I'm not sure where he even is in professional basketball at this point.
Talk
So
about Deontay,
Ward's got
you
his
said?
work- Yes. Ward's got his work cut out for him, but I think he knows what he's getting into.
Yeah, I agree with you. We're talking to Spartan Nation senior writer Johnny Shop. John, what is your lasting memory of Nick Ward going to be?
I think the lasting memory of Nick Ward is going to be a big man running up the court, catching the ball, and laying it in. It's not a bad memory for sure. Nick Ward is a guy that helped lead a team to a Final Four. Secondary memory would be I think he averaged 28 minutes a game last year. So the concept that somebody could go from 28 minutes a game to being drafted by the NBA seems on paper like it's just not a good fit and not going to happen. So Ward was a good player. I don't think he was a great Michigan State basketball player, and I don't think that he would have turned into a great Michigan State basketball player had he returned for another year. Now, team could make a second straight Final Four, and he could be part of a great team, but was he as good as Andre Hudson? I don't think so. But he's not a guy that will be totally forgotten at the same time.
I agree. Jonathan, let's now turn our attention to Cassius Winston. Has a chance to be the first player in college basketball history, 2,000 points, 1,000 assists. I think his jersey will end up hanging in the rafters at Breslin Center. We said all along we expected him to go into the process, but that he would be back. He's like, why even do it? This is where my heart is. I want my degree. His parents, they wanted him to stay all along. He did. This kid has a chance of being a legend.
He does, yeah, and he's trending the right way, and that's hard to. A lot can change in not too much time. A year ago, at this point, there were some folks wondering who would Winston be playing alongside Lawyer late in the year? Would Winston be the point guard the whole way? Now those questions are completely out the window and out the door. The best point guard in the country. So what you have is a guy that understands his game, understands what he wants to accomplish in his life, and understands that the NBA can wait. I think this is a smart play. There's not a lot of guys that have a chance at all to do some of the things that Winston is looking at doing. I am interested to see how much he can do to get even better. If he can pretty much keep playing the same way he played at the latter part of the year, getting Michigan State into really good shots and really being smarter with the ball, I expect that Michigan State basketball is going to be better next year. And Winston will be too. But if he returns and hits those numbers, yeah, you would have to be looking at a jersey that's going to go up in the rafters. No question about it.
Huh. John, I've heard you twice now say there were people who actually thought Lawyer would take his spot. I never heard any person that's close to this program or knew what they were getting say that. Did you actually hear people say that?
Yeah, not so much take his spot, but be in a situation where they were both on the court at the same time, where Lawyer would be handling the ball a good bit. And this goes back to before the year, and from some folks that had seen him play up there in high school a good bit, who thought, hey, this could be a situation where, depending on how it goes, Lawyer could be the primary guy handling the ball late in the year. That obviously didn't come close to happening. And I don't think it was as much a knock on Winston as it was a question of what kind of lineups is Michigan State going to go with. When you look at the coming up year, I don't think there's too much of a question. I'm pretty sure we would like to find a couple of minutes a game to maybe rest Winston because it's such a long year. But there's no sign that Cassius Winston will be anything but better next year, which is a great sign for Michigan State. And again, guy's got a headband going. He's got a look going. We're going to remember Cassius Winston for a long, long time. And there's like you said, a really good chance that he could put up some numbers that will be there for a long time and put him in some record books for college basketball.
I want to ask you very quickly about Aaron Henry. This is a young man. I don't know if there's another player on this team that I think can take a bigger leap from this year to next year and really put himself in discussion for a lot of big-time future stuff. Talk about Aaron Henry.
Well, you've got some explosive physical abilities there. You've got an explosive steps. You've got explosive hops. You've got a basketball IQ that seems to be improving very quickly. It's not that the game slowed down all the way for him, but it started to to slow down, and he started to see places that he could make a difference on both ends of the court. So I understand that Tom Izzo thinks he's got a major upside. Let's see what kind of work he does in the offseason. Let's see what kind of physical work he does. And then let's see how he manages himself within what Michigan State basketball wants to do, especially on offense. Running, no problem. Everybody's down to run. Running's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Let's also see what he can do from the tournament into the start of next year to get himself in position when you're coming around holiday time where you're saying, hey, this guy is one of the top 3 guys on the team. If that happens, then yeah, all signs are that Henry is going in the right direction fast because he's got major physical tools.
John Schaub, we love having John on the show. John, let's talk about Xavier Tillman. If this guy takes any kind of a leap at all this offseason after what he did the previous offseason, I mean, he's clearly playing himself into an NBA future. How excited are you about Xavier Tillman?
Yeah, he's one of the most exciting guys that I've seen come through Michigan State basketball in 20 years because he's got an incredible knack of doing the right thing at the right time, whether it's a block, a steal, a tap ball. He is kind of a hybrid of an old school Michigan State basketball player when the game was played a little bit different, but he's playing in the modern time. And it seems like he's got a better handle on how to keep himself out of foul trouble. So there is something, I believe, special about him. I believe this is Tom Izzo's 3rd or maybe 4th truly special player that he's had alongside with Cleaves and Green and what looks like it's trending with Cassius Winston. So I think this is a guy that's got a big-time future. When we get back to college basketball starting up again in the fall, a lot of eyes are going to be paid attention to Xavier Tillman. They're going to remember what he did, and they're going to want to see how he's going to follow it up. As long as he keeps doing what he's doing, I look for very big things from Xavier Tillman. He's got NBA physical skills. He's got size. I believe it's not that the sky is the limit, but this is a guy that could be playing his way into a very, very serious professional basketball future as well.
I remember Draymond Green was undersized, but his junior year, early in the season, I was talking with a scout about another player, and he said, I'm really intrigued by Draymond. He goes, he's undersized, but he does so much right. He goes, I think this guy has a future. And I remember thinking, wow, okay, why do I feel that same thing with Xavier? I'm not trashing Nick. I've never seen Nick and thought, ooh, that's something that you can't count. I've never seen the defensive energy of a day. I've watched him make mistakes and said, man, I hope that doesn't get in his head. Not, oh God, he's going to now make 5 great plays to make over it. I see a lot of day in Xavier. True or not?
Yeah, that's the immediate comparison, and you kind of saw those things right off the bat. There is some kind of intangible. There's some kind of basketball IQ. There's some kind of extra sense that Tillman seems to have, and it's not like, oh, it happened once or twice or 5 times. It happened dozens of times, especially in the great stretch run. Both Michigan games, Big Ten tournament, NCAA tournament, happened on the bigger stages too. You know what I mean? Is it all perfect? No. You got the ball taken away at the very end against Texas Tech. They're trying to survive there. But the vast majority is there's special plays that this guy is making on a regular basis. And that is sometimes an extra intangible or something that separates because people forget. Now we see Draymond Green on commercials, cashing big checks, getting ready to open an arena this fall in Oakland. Tons of money and championships and success. That was not expected necessarily by the NBA, or he would have been drafted in a different situation. He would have played more basketball early. But he just does so many things well on the court in the team concept of 5 players on the floor that he's an absolute superstar. Yes, that is the same kind of thing that not just you and I see, but a lot of people see in Xavier Tillman. It's going to be impressive, very impressive to watch this young man continue next year.
John, 30 seconds. Last question for you. Cassius Winston at the point, Aaron Henry at the 2, Josh Langford at the 3, Xavier at the 4. Who's going to be that fifth starter? Now, remember, they could move Xavier to the 5. I'm just saying, who's the fifth starter? Not the position, but who's the fifth starter next year when the season starts?
Oh, that's a tough one. I like a glue guy. Is there space for Kyle Arns? Because I like a glue guy to be the fifth guy.
I like it too. All right, Spartan Nation senior writer John Schott. Spartan Nation senior writer John Schott. Spartan Nation